If you are like me, recovering after breast cancer treatment, you're probably wondering what can you do better and more of to feel better, to feel back to your normal body, whatever normal body is. Today is 2 years after my mastectomy and 2.5 years since my first chemo. So I can share my experience of what I have been doing in order to feel better. And today I feel strong like never before. I was administered quite strong chemotherapy, and during 6 months that I was getting chemotherapy treatment, I felt different. I was in different phases. So the first week after chemo I was extremely weak. I stayed in bed, I didn't go out a lot. The second and the third week I felt better and better, stronger and stronger, so I could build up a little bit more. I could utilize this last 2 weeks before the next chemo to do something more active with my body. In general, the 6 months of chemotherapy treatment, I tried to be engaged in different activities, physical and intellectual, so I could feel at least normal or relatively normal given the state I was in. The first week of chemo, I tried to stay in bed but still practice yoga. I am a yoga teacher, so I've been practicing yoga for many years, and one of my yogi friends who is teaching in Australia sent me a book which is called Yoga for Cancer by Terry Prinster. This book gave me a lot of insights about what is happening in my body during chemotherapy, and from the point of view of yoga, how I could influence my body to feel better. Okay, so first week of chemo, I was still staying in bed and I tried to do yoga, even slightly moving my hands and my head. It was very difficult to move the first few days after chemo, but I tried to do little massages to allow blood circulation in my body. That was, I think, extremely beneficial. Then something else that I did was pranayama. Or breathing exercises. I tried at least 3 to 5 minutes a day, do small exercises. It doesn't mean that I was successful to do them every day. No, not at all. But as soon as I was in this mental space, I tried to sit in my bed or sit on the chair and breathe consciously, not consciously, but with full awareness. Then another activities that I was engaged with, guess what? Netflix and listening to podcasts. When I was lying in my bed first days after chemotherapy, I was really super fatigued. I couldn't sit. It took a lot of energy to sit, so I was reclined or I was just laying down on my side, and I binge watched some TV series. Well, it was entertaining, but I also watched a bunch of documentaries, so it helped me shift my mind from what was going inside my body, all these like nasty side effects. And I also felt that I was learning something new when I listened to podcasts. So there were different podcasts, anything from astrophysics to psychology to literature to art. But I try to find a little bit more of new information every day, and so I felt that the day was not completely gone with all the chemo effects. Then as I continued chemotherapy treatment, I developed neuropathy. So it's this feeling of pins and needles on the tips of your fingers and toes. This side effect I didn't really like because, for instance, when I walked, especially towards the end of my chemo treatment, when I walked, I could not entirely feel my feet and my toes. I was a little bit scared that this feeling would remain with me, but I tried to walk nonetheless. I tried to walk barefoot in the house so I could feel different surfaces, but I also tried to be very mindful around like different rugs or different areas to avoid sliding on them. And then, of course, I tried to walk as long as I could outside. And then for my fingers, my doctor recommended me to knit and to embroider. In general, I am a crafter, so I used to knit and embroider, like for example, this dress, that's the dress that I knitted. So I tried to do as much as I could, even though it would be a couple of rows during the day, but I tried to engage my fingers and my foot active as well. 1 month after my last chemo, I had mastectomy, and it was a completely different firework of side effects that I experienced than chemo. Mastectomy is a more mechanical and more hard intrusion into your body, so there is a cut in your skin, then they remove all of the tissues from the breast and they put an implant. And of course the healing from scars is slightly different, or even completely different than the healing from chemotherapy, which messes your different systems. In my case, I continued practicing yoga as little or as much as I could, and again, not every day, but I try to maintain this movement, keep the blood flow into my body, especially so I had left mastectomy, and especially into this area. For example, I would lift weights, and if you don't have weights, you can use a can, or you can use a bottle of wine or bottle of mineral water that you have at home. And for instance, I try to lift more weight with my left hand than with my right, even though it was easier to lift with my healthy hand, because I tried to push myself. I tried to do a little bit more than I could, so the recovery time happens faster. After surgery, maybe 3 to 4 weeks after surgery, I started radiotherapy. I didn't experience as many side effects. My skin was slightly burned, or rather slightly dry, and I experienced a lot of fatigue, so I took 1 or 2 naps during the day, so that was the only side effect. But during this time, I tried to be outside a lot. I tried to feel fresh air. I tried to walk a little bit and even cycled. So I guess that 4 weeks or even less, 3 weeks after my mastectomy, I started cycling. And even though my doctor said that I should avoid cycling for 6 weeks after surgery, or even 5, but I tried to push myself and be a little bit more active. I still feel this strange feeling in my body when I first took the bike. It was probably something like 8 months after the first chemo. So I cycled and I felt alive. I felt wind going through my face, caressing my hair, which started to grow. Yeah, it was really great. It was this great feeling where I felt finally, I am owning this, and I decide that I can use my bike and cycle through the city. The activity that had a tremendous impact on my body and mind was and is Muay Thai. 4 months after mastectomy, I found a personal trainer, and I've been training with them since weekly. So what did Muay Thai bring into my life? First of all, it's a combination of cardio and resistance training. And as you know, if you are a breast cancer survivor, you may know that after chemo, you are losing your bone density. And this is due to hormonal treatment that we are taking after we were rid of the tumor and after we stopped all the hard treatment. So to improve my bone density, to try to prevent osteoporosis, which very often happens to breast cancer survivors, I decided to take it to my hands. So Muay Thai is really an amazing discipline because, as I mentioned earlier, so while being a combination of cardio and Resistance training, it's also an amazing exercise for your brain. After chemo and radiotherapy, I found that my cognitive abilities decreased. This is one of the most common side effects after breast cancer treatments. So this, sparring, this kind of dancing with your trainer, had a clear influence on my cognitive abilities as well. And I'm extremely grateful to my trainer, who is very, very supportive. So he understood my condition, and slowly he was building up both my mind and my body. And today I can say that big part of my recovery, I would say 50%, of course, like my personal willpower and all the efforts that I'm personally doing, but part of it is also due to my personal trainer. Another activity that had a very positive impact on my recovery and well-being is singing. 1.5 years ago, I decided to go for singing lessons. It was something that I've always wanted to do, but I never had the time. And when I was going through chemo, I made myself a promise. I need to do what I want to do, regardless, or at least to try, because I never know what life holds for me and how long I'm staying here. Let's be honest, that's something that crossed my mind many times during treatment. And so the first thing I did after I recovered, well, not first thing, it was one of the first things that I did, was to sign up for singing lessons. And oh man, it brings me extreme, immense joy into my daily life. I practice 4 to 5 times a week, and it uplifts my mood. It gives me so much energy. It keeps me sane and it keeps me alive. And singing really has transformed the way I not only see music, but the way I see the world. Last but not least, I want to mention an activity that was extremely healing for me. It is tango. After I recovered from breast cancer, my boyfriend broke up with me. And he broke up with me in a very bad way. He told me that he didn't have enough sex with me, and it made me feel even worse than I felt before. Because after mastectomy, I have to tell you, I didn't have the most amazing body image. And given all the side effects that I experienced, like pain during sex and loss of libido, just to start with, I didn't feel woman enough, I didn't feel desired enough, I didn't feel good enough in general as a person. And so then this breakup happened, and I went into a deep hole of self-doubt and on really negative self-criticism. Of course, I wanted to meet somebody one day, but just immediately after this breakup, I wasn't ready. And I started going to tango on a regular basis. First of all, you experience touch of another person. In most cases, this is a touch of a person of opposite sex, and it feels extremely soothing. Most dancers are very kind and positive people. I didn't experience many negative men at tango. Yeah, sometimes like there are some dodgy guys who come to tango lessons to maybe find themselves a girlfriend, but the majority of men are very nice and kind and have the best intentions, and the same as you, they want to learn how to dance. And then there is this touch, and in tango you dance in the open embrace, but then you also dance in the close embrace, where you feel the person very close to you. I have no words to describe how beneficial dancing tango was for me. I could be in the arms of a partner with whom I danced for a little while. I listened to the beautiful music. I experienced something nice inside my body when I danced, and it was just on a human level, an interaction of two people who like this beautiful dance and who listen to this beautiful music. It took me a couple of months, or maybe a little bit more than a couple of months, to feel normal again. I started feeling much better about myself as a woman and as a person. This touch and nice environment of people who love to dance tango was very healing. And when I started editing this video in the evening of the same day, I realized that last few minutes disappeared. I don't know whether I should blame ghosts in my apartment or my phone. All in all, what I wanted to say to conclude this video is that a big part of my recovery was due to the amazing treatment and medical personnel. But another big contribution was also made by people who accompanied me through my hobbies and activities, sometimes even without knowing this, like, for example, these people who sold me yarn in knitting shops, or these anonymous tango dancers. If you are on your way through any kind of treatment in your breast cancer journey, don't hesitate to pick up a journey. Pick up something that fits your physical and mental state at the moment, and don't give up. Give yourself time, be patient with yourself, but also with your hobbies. But don't underestimate all of these extra activities that bring you back to life, because that's how it was for me. And I wish you all the best on your way to recovery.